Why's a guy like you riding with a kid like that? The words dropped like gravel against Malik Jordan's spine. Officer Jenna Wallace stood tall beside her cruiser, sunglasses still on, hand resting on her belt. Behind Malik, 10-year-old Amira squeezed tighter around his waist. She didn't understand the insult. But he did. Malik raised his hands slowly, deliberately. His bike, a scratched-up Navy cruiser with a fake plate, rested still in the gravel turnout. Around them, the road stretched empty under the heat, silence pressing down like judgment. You got ID, or are you just playing father today? Jenna's voice was laced with suspicion, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. He didn't answer. He didn't flinch. Just one breath. One glance back at Amira. One slow nod. And far down the road, the low rumble began. What she said next. That nearly made Amira cry. But what came behind them? That shut Jenna up before she could blink. Jenna yanked the bike key from the ignition and motioned Malik off. Step away. Keep your hands where I can see them, she snapped. Amira slid off slowly, confused, clinging to her small pink backpack. Malik didn't resist. He moved like mist, controlled, unreadable, quiet power beneath a dusty jacket. Where were you headed? Jenna barked. Does that matter? He said finally. She stepped closer. You think riding dirty with a kid gives you cover? Her tone sharpened like a blade. Malik's jaw flexed. Not from fear, but restraint. Amira's fingers curled tighter around his hand. Her voice was barely a whisper. Daddy, are we in trouble? Jenna scoffed. Daddy? That's real cute. A second cruiser pulled up behind them. A second officer stepped out, resting a hand on his baton. 2 against 1. Still, Malik didn't move. But his boot tapped twice against the gravel. And 30 miles away, a convoy changed direction. You have no idea, he said, softly, what you've just done. The ground trembled. At first, Jenna thought it was thunder. But it grew louder, rhythmic, mechanical. What the hell, the second officer muttered, squinting down the road. Then came the dust. Then came the Humvees. One after another, 6, 10, then more. Malik didn't blink. He simply stepped forward, standing between Amira and the cops. The first Humvee halted inches from the curb. A man in full combat gear leapt out. Silver bars on his collar. A tablet in his hand. Eyes locked on Jenna. You've detained Captain Malik Jordan, leader of a Tier 1 Special Operations Task Unit, during a classified domestic operation, he said. Silence cracked the moment like glass. Jenna's voice was barely a breath. See, Captain. Malik finally turned. That's right. He removed the ID tag from beneath his jacket and placed it into her shaking hand. But it wasn't the badge that crushed her pride. It was what happened next, when every soldier stepped out of their vehicles and saluted him in unison. Amira looked up, eyes wide, not quite understanding. But she would. Jenna stood frozen, still holding the ID. Her lips parted, but no words came. The second officer took a step back. We thought he was just a black man on a dusty bike. Malik interrupted, not raising his voice. The commanding officer turned to Jenna, his face stern. Do you understand what nearly happened? You compromised an entire operation. Jenna's hand trembled. Not from fear, from shame. Malik knelt beside Amira and handed her back the small pink backpack the officer had tossed earlier. She hugged it to her chest, confused, silent. Then, Malik did something unexpected. He approached Jenna. Stood still. Looked her in the eyes. You didn't just pull over a soldier, he said. You pulled a father, in front of his daughter. He didn't wait for an apology. He turned, nodded to his team. And just like that, they began to leave. The dust rose again, this time, behind the boots of men who knew who they were following. By the time the last Humvee disappeared into the horizon, only silence remained. Jenna stood by her cruiser, eyes lowered, the ID tag still clutched in her fingers. No one had yelled. No one had cursed her. That made it worse. Amira looked back once from the rear seat of the lead vehicle. Her gaze didn't hold anger, just a question. Jenna swallowed hard. For the first time in her career, her badge felt heavier than her gun. She reached into her pocket and folded the ID tag into a protective cloth, then laid it on the passenger seat, like a medal she didn't earn. No report was filed. No apology was offered. But Malik's words lingered. You pulled a father, in front of his daughter. And from that day on, she checked more than just a license plate. She checked her assumptions. There are moments in life when a uniform doesn't make you right, and silence doesn't mean weakness. Jenna thought she was doing her job, but what she really did was strip a little girl of her safety and a man of his dignity. In 5 minutes, power changed hands without a single threat, just presence, truth, and a convoy that answered to quiet strength. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments and consider subscribing.